Greetings and welcome to a presentation by the Adrian Dominican Sisters called A Sister Story. I'm Sister Peg O'Flynn, and today we're having a conversation with our Sister Nancy Jurecki, who resides and also is in ministry in the Philippines. So she's there. I'm here in Adrian. So this is an international call. So let us begin. Nancy, you're in charge of what you want to say about your life. We want to know something about your beginnings, your family, your siblings, schools, who inspired you to become a sister, and you have an interesting life. So you begin. You're in charge of what you're going to say. And you've got 30 minutes to share your whole life. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Peg. And let me just clarify, I'm in the Philippines now for a limited period of time, and I'll be home shortly.
Yes. Okay.
I'm looking forward to that. But it's been a wonderful experience here.
Yeah.
Actually, I am from Cleveland, Ohio, and I am a daughter among 4 brothers. So there were 5 of us growing up together. And it was a very interesting life because the boys were very jealous of me. They just never understood why I would have my own bedroom and they had to sleep all together upstairs. My mom and dad were very faith-filled. They moved to the house that we lived in because it was immediately across the street from the church. So it was really very easy for us to go to church and to go to school. And they figured when they were in retirement that they'd have the church at their disposal, which worked out really well for them. They died about 25 years ago, as did my oldest brother. So I only have 3 living brothers at this point. Growing up, what was really kind of fun because we had the schoolyard, was our playground. That was our, so baseball, basketball, we really had free reign.
So you didn't play with dolls there?
I did, Peg, I'll tell you the truth. I'm not sure I ever played with dolls.
Okay, that's okay.
But a lot of kids in our neighborhood. So it was just really a very rich experience. And we all went to the same school. We all did the same kinds of things. I just assumed the whole world was like I knew it way back when.
Right.
And it was only until I got a little bit older that I found out about the diversity of our world and life and living. So anyhow, my dad was a machinist. He worked for United States Steel, and education was really important to both of my parents. So what my dad did is he got a second job as a bus driver so he could put us all through Catholic school at that time. So I went to Hoban Dominican, which is an all-girls school. And the 2 older of the boys went to Chanel, which is an all-boys school. The younger of the boys went to co-ed schools. Just kind of, I guess, progressing as time was going on, getting a little bit more lenient or whatever. I don't know.
Where do you come, Nancy? Where do you come in the family? Are you the oldest?
I'm now the oldest. It was the one brother a year older than me. There were 3 of us that really are close together. We're just all a year apart, and so they used to call us the 3 Musketeers. My oldest brother died right around the same time my parents did.
Oh,
yeah. So anyhow, my mom was a homemaker. So, and I honestly believe that she expressed love by the care that she made in, everything that came out of the kitchen and how clean our house was. We were really very fortunate in that regard. I don't know what else to tell you. It was rich, good experience, lots of good memories.
That's good. That's blessed. And your schooling, you went to Hoban Dominican and you graduated from Hoban in
1966. And actually, right after I graduated, I entered the community. And it's really kind of funny. The reason I entered the Dominicans is because they were so nice. Never once did any of our sisters try to make me somebody we weren't. Now, I went to grade school, with another community of sisters, and they were convinced I could be different than I was. So when I went to Hoban, it was just so liberating because I could be me. I met sisters when I was young because I actually have three uncles that are Franciscan priests. So
Oh,
whenever they came home, they would go to our home because my grandmother lived with us. And so a lot of sisters were in and out of our house at those times. So, I knew sisters. And I was convinced from a very early age that God was calling me to be one of them. So, but anyhow, so I did enter the community, and it was the Adrian community, the one that really freed me. Um, and I stayed only 2 years. So I did really almost a complete formation under the
uh-huh.
pre-Vatican kind of way to do it. Because I left just right before first profession. Because I remember Lawrence Edward telling us that you're making a profession for 1 year, but in your heart, it's all your life. And I kept thinking, oh my God, all my life. I don't know what my life is. So I asked if I could go home and take a couple years to grow up. Well, it just took me a lot longer than a couple years. I came back in 1992. So that's
Oh,
20 some years
yes.
later.
Mhm.
But I stayed in contact with the Adrian sisters. Our crowd is really very close to one another, and we get together periodically, or call one another or whatever. So it really was nothing foreign for me, to return to Adrian. But it's kind of an interesting story because on one of our gatherings, Donna Markham looked at me and she said, Nancy, I understood why everybody left when they left, but it made no sense to me that you left. And all of a sudden, I started crying. I thought, oh my God, there's something going on here. So, really, that's when I really started exploring, is God calling me that? And
Mhm.
in addition to that, I was raising foster kids at that time. And it was really important to me that they had a good, solid, ethical, religious foundation. So I really got very much involved in my church and encouraged the kids to get very much involved in their church. And it was really at church that oftentimes people would stop me and ask me if I ever thought about becoming a nun.
Oh my.
So it was just kind of like everything coalesced at that point in time. While I was away from the community, I finished my college education. I got both the bachelor's and a master's degree in administration. I really, had my own home and a
Okay.
really very good job. I was working for the Lorraine County Board of Mental Retardation, Developmental Disabilities. And for the most part, most of those years, I was director of children's services. And it's kind of funny because that's a government organization, and at that time I could retire in 30 years on the job. So my parents thought I was out of my cotton picking mind to leave because I would have been early retirement, uh,
Mhm.
but I kind of gave that up. So it took me a little longer to retire than might have otherwise.
So you had a job, but also you were fostering children at your home.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Okay, okay.
one of the children stayed with me really and grew up with me. Her parents had disowned her. Foster care is set up where the whole idea is to work with the children, work with and the social workers work with the parents, and you
Mhm.
reunite the children with their parents. But in Serena's case, her parents disowned her. So she was doing so well with me that they kept her in my home for an extended period of time. So she literally grew up with my nieces
Mhm.
and nephews. And I mean, she called my mom and dad grandma and grandpa, and her kids now call me grandma. So it's just a real,
Mhm.
good, positive relationship. I just am so blessed because I got to experience a couple different ways of life.
You sure did. You sure did. A great responsibility, but that's awesome that you were open to doing that. So what happened after that? I mean,
What happened
it,
after that, is that's when I re-entered the community in 92. Um, and when I came back, oh, I really came back with one of the women actually that was in our original crowd, which made it so nice for me. So Ellen Burkhardt and I
you mean the
had both
first?
left.
Oh,
No, this
I,
is
okay.
Ellen Burkhardt and I had both left. Ellen stayed a little longer than I did. And we had both left and we came back the same year, the same time.
Okay.
So my a novitiate in Adrian, the second novitiate, was with somebody that I knew really well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just really very, very comfortable. We learned a lot from each other, as well as from the formators, Carol Weber. And
Okay.
then the ministry I had then was working in Maria. They wanted to reacquaint both Ellen and I with the community again because we'd been away. And so they had us like spending time with the sisters. So that was really rich, excellent.
Mm-hmm. And you probably worked at Ron Colley somewhat, which is no longer with us. You're going to see some changes when you come back home.
Oh, I have seen some of that on film.
On film, yeah.
It's a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
But it has to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, so then after I had the 1 year in Adrian, I spent a year then at the common novitiate. So I can relate very well with our women coming in now, as well as the women who came back when. So I had the post Vatican and pre Vatican formation.
You've had everything.
I have. I'm telling you, God is good. He knows me as slow learners.
No.
I'm being well taken care of.
Yes. Very responsible woman you are. All right, now you did do some chaplaincy work out west.
Yeah. Well, originally when after my first profession, I went back and got a degree in pastoral ministry. So then I did some pastoral work in a parish with one of our sisters, Rosemary Kiefer.
Okay.
And from there I went to the Dominican Republic, and then when I left the Dominican Republic, I came to Henderson, Nevada, and worked with our sisters at our hospital in the Las Vegas area. So that was really just a wonderful experience. I really worked with an ICU unit and found a real love working with people that you could really kind of build a relationship with, and at a very difficult time in their life. And what I discovered is when people really need you, they need you, and they don't mince words. They go right to the heart of their problem. So it was just really, I was, again, the theme of my life is I'm a poor and serving woman, richly blessed, just like Mary in the Magnificat.
Of course. Say that again. You're what kind of a woman? That's beautiful.
Poor and serving woman who knows myself as richly blessed.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
So I did have the experience in chaplaincy, which just really was a delight. And it was while I was a chaplain that some headhunters somewhere, I don't know how they ever got my name, but they invited me out to California to work with the Providence Sisters. And they must have called about 4 or 5 times. And I kept telling them, I don't know why you keep calling me. I'm very happy where I am. And then the last call, I said, all right, if you're silly enough and you want to put me on an airplane, send me to California, put me up in a hotel for several days, fine. So I went out to California and I just fell in love with that place because it was a hospital that had what's called a subacute unit. So it was like 120 beds of ICU people. So, I mean, it was speaking to my heart. So I worked in that hospital for, I think maybe 3 or 4 years. But then I started getting some promotions in the system because they were starting to do some merging. And for some reason, they pinpointed me to make some movement within the organization. So I was with the Providence system for like the last maybe 13 years. And my final position was as the chief mission integration officer for Southern California. So I had like 11 hospitals that I kind of kept my finger on.
So you oversaw those?
Yeah, I oversaw the work of mission leaders. That was really fun. Because you're working with people that really are very passionate, and it's just really wonderful. It's like you learn from one another. It's great.
Mhm. Well, you're very passionate about everything that you do. And I'm wondering, one of the questions we like to ask is about how we're all challenged in some way. Now, you certainly have had a very diverse, ministry and life. And how do you handle challenging times?
I think, it's not like, there's a challenge is like one size fits all,
Right.
it's so very unique. Everything
Mhm.
is so very different. And I think it's really important when you're met with a challenge to kind of like step back and do a little bit of praying and try to get a whole picture, because you
Mhm.
don't want to react, because that's when you really end up shooting yourself in the foot. You want
Mhm.
to, engage
Respect.
in those different challenges with a perspective. So prayer to me becomes really very important.
Do you have a favorite scripture saying?
You know, I really do, but it's really kind of complex. It goes back to Saint Peter, and it's John 21. Where Jesus is challenging. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And this is after
Mhm.
Peter three times. Peter the rock and the sand pile,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
He had denied him, and it just speaks to my heart. Do you love me? Yeah, I do. I do. I do.
Mhm.
That really is my favorite. And each time he's telling him, go out and minister. Go out and feed my lambs, feed my
Mhm.
sheep.
Mhm.
So it's kind of as a direction for my life, I guess.
And you've been in many, many ministries. Is there a ministry perhaps that is someplace back in your head that you'd like to try, that you'd like to do? I don't care, any place in the world,
I'd like to do again.
not again, or maybe do again, but just something that you've always wanted to do. And I'm sure you can hook it up to ministry.
Actually, the one thing that I really wanted to do was come to the Philippines. I had met Zenaida, Sister Zenny,
Yeah,
who was
yeah.
Sister Remedies, when I was chapter prioress in the Dominican Republic. And she talked so lovingly about the sisters and the ministries they
Uh-huh.
had, that I had promised myself that when I retired, that I was going to spend some time here. And actually, when I retired, I, it was made possible for me. So I
Hmm.
have this nice, rich experience where I can spend several months with our sisters here in the Philippines, getting to know them, learning about their culture. It's really marvelous.
Yes, they're
So
wonderful women. And we
yeah,
love it when they come to campus. Yeah,
yeah.
to be
But
able
but
to
if you're
see them.
asking me, like, what was my favorite ministry in the whole world, it was in Guaymate with Sister Ann Liam. We just did all kinds of things that there's no way in God's name you'd be able to do in the United States.
Well, knowing Ann Liam, I believe you.
So we actually at one point were working with doctors from New York, with mothers who were pregnant, mothers who had AIDS who were pregnant, in an effort to help them from passing on their AIDS to the children. So that was really rich. And then while
Mhm.
I was there, I was elected into leadership as a chapter prioress, and
Mhm.
so I got to go to Haiti and spend some time with Philomena,
Yes.
and and also to Puerto Rico. I mean, I just, I don't think a life makes sense until you're old like we are, right? And then you look back on it,
Elders, elders.
and it's just so everything kind of builds on one another,
Yeah.
and brings you
Yes.
who you
Uh-huh.
are.
Hmm.
It's so great. God is good.
What have you learned about yourself through your time with us as an Adrian?
Ah,
I mean,
you
you
know,
left for 20 years to grow up.
yeah. Oh, and I did grow up thing, and that was because of the children. That's when I
Mhm.
really did my growing up. But in Adrian, I think I learned a resilience, and I learned the importance of following a call. Because really any ministry I engaged in, I was asked to come there. So it wasn't a matter
Yes.
of me applying anywhere.
Mhm.
And I just look back on all of it and just say, thank you, God. So I think the resilience is probably something that I learned.
I don't think a lot of us know you that well. However, this is going to help us. It helped me. But is there something about you that if we knew it, we'd be very surprised? Something you did, not something shocking, but just, how sometimes you're talking to someone and you say, "Why, you did that?" Anything, anything surprising about you?
Nothing that comes to my mind right away.
Okay, that's all right.
Most people are surprised that I have a family.
A child.
Own, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
other than that, to me, it's been a pretty ordinary life.
Yeah, yeah, just like your own family. And that's where I think you of course we all receive our foundation from our families. And you certainly had a very bonded, spiritual, alive family and good mentors there with your parents. Which
Exactly.
Is there do you have a sense of where you might be going next?
Well, for sure. Right before I came here, I asked Mary Pradinsky, who was my chapter prioress then, if I could please return to Adrian, because I know I'll be healthier there. I had my both knees replaced.
Right.
And, I'll have to do a lot more walking and stuff in Adrian than I will in just a little house.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's the movement that keeps me going.
Good.
So that's actually kind of where I have my sights set at this point.
Well, just be careful when you come because they're going to be after you. Can you do this? Can you do this? Just be able to say, you know what, I need to get adjusted now. Anyway, so anything else you want to say to us that you thought of?
Not really offhand. Last time you talked, you asked me about what I do for fun.
Oh, yeah,
And,
tell us.
Yeah, the answer to that is, basically, walking. And I have a really bad habit in terms of, computer games to keep my mind focused. And it's particularly within the last several years, keeping up with politics has been really very important to me.
Oh, my.
But it's something that I do that really invigorates me is traveling.
Okay.
So actually with my jobs, I did a lot of traveling, for vacations, I've been able to travel. So I've got to see really a lot of the world that many other people don't.
And what was the most favorite part of the world that you visited? And I know it's hard to do, but just there's a special place.
Probably Iraq.
Oh, you went to Iraq?
I did. I'm telling you, Peg, I'm so blessed. I get all these experiences just handed to me. I had lived with Nadia, which was again such a rich experience when she was in the States. We lived together in the Las Vegas area. And so when the Dominican sisters were still sending people over, they asked me as one of them to be one of the ones representing the Dominican sisters going over there. And that was, right after the war. And I got to see all the different places where our sisters, well, most of them, not all, where the sisters were. And you saw some of the devastations of that, war-torn area. I mean, it was just a real heartbreaker. And, to see how positive and how committed the sisters are, despite all those hardships, was just so heartwarming. That's just a memory I treasure. Good. Just really treasure.
Yeah, and you bring all that to wherever you go. That enriches your person. Yes. Well, the people watching this don't know we've already been through this. We had some technical difficulties. So the pleasure of hearing this story twice is wonderful. So I want to thank you, and let's keep our fingers crossed that we don't appear again tomorrow night. And thank you and bless you as you continue. You leave the Philippines and as you continue and come back home. And just to know that you have been a wonderful preacher and woman of the gospel, and you've worked with, what diversity is, and you've just experienced a lot. And you still have lots of energy. So don't think when you come to Adrian You're going to be sitting around playing those games.
Okay.
You keep us balanced. You keep yourself balanced, keep us balanced, because you're a good mentor for us. So again, thank you so much for your kindness in doing this again without mumbling.
Thank you very much, Peg. I really appreciate your flexibility.